Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Coyle. I'm the Assistant Director with the New York Employment Services System here at the Office of Mental Health. I am very happy to be joined today by Maurice Clayton. Maurice has a phenomenal success story to tell in his own words. But before we get into that, Maurice, I want to pass the microphone over to you for a quick introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Maurice Clayton. I'm a peer counselor level 2 at Harlem Hospital, and I look forward to sharing my story with you.
Great. Thank you, Maurice. So let's start from the beginning. Let's start from where you grew up.
I grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn in the 70s to like the 80s, mid to late 90s. And then I moved to Queens, New York, where I just feel the atmosphere is different there.
Sure, sure. So moving from Brooklyn to Queens must have been a bit of an adjustment. Sounds like it was a good one. Tell
Yes.
me a little bit about your family situation in
Okay.
your neighborhood growing up. Yeah,
Okay. I grew up in a Christian household, my parents divorcing when I was 2 years old. I had a stepdad, however, whom I was very close to. He loved me as if he fathered me. Our family and the neighborhood were close knit, although during some evenings it wasn't the best time to go outside unless you had someplace specific to be. We had friends on the block and grew up with block parties during the summers, and there was a church on the corner that had an ice cream making machine, and it tasted better than the name brands as well as the kind that you can get off of ice cream trucks.
I love it. I love it. Again, it sounds like such a great community, close-knit community where folks can get the high quality ice cream that you need in the summer for sure.
Yes.
So moving from where you grew up in your neighborhood to your educational background.
hmm
Um, I know you have several certificates and a diploma. Tell me about that road and what educational institutions you went to.
All right. My high school, I went to A. Philip Randolph Campus High School, which is here in Harlem, where I currently work. And I have a Regents Honors Diploma from that high school, from A. Philip Randolph Campus High School. I also took a basic figure drawing class from the School of Visual Arts in my early 20s after high school. And I'm pursuing diplomas in secretarial arts as well as business management at Stratford Institute. I have a SERPA, which is also a Certified Recovery Peer Advocate certificate, and I'm pursuing an
That's great.
NYCPS, which is New York Certified Peer Specialist. I am also a Karuna level Reiki Master and proud graduate of Peer Advocacy Academy's Cohort 4 class of 2023.
That's phenomenal, Maurice. I know that there's so much to be learned from folks with lived experience, and especially the peer recovery movement is so powerful. There's so much to learn from folks who have been down that road. And there's always two experts in the room, as we say, right? The
Right? You and
clinician
me.
and the individual, right?
Right.
So thank you for sharing that. That's a great experience.
You're welcome.
So I want to move now from the certificates and the diploma
hmm
towards your work history.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about your initial jobs and your connection to community.
Okay. During my high school summers, I started working as a paid intern at Con Edison, and that's where I discovered my love for clerical work. After graduating high school, I went to work for the Girl Scout Council of Greater New York, where the cookies come from. I started in the mailroom, worked my way up to coordinator, and was in the process of applying for an administrative assistant position before my psychosis set in. I worked as an executive assistant in a major credit card company. I also worked as a doorman and as a waiter with a little bartending thrown in. I'm also a professional artist, and my current career is as a peer counselor level 2, as I said earlier, at Harlem Hospital.
At Harlem Hospital. That's great. That's great. I'm now in my mind moving from ice cream to Thin Mints and cookies.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
It's such a trajectory that we take from what we start out at to where we end up, and
Right.
but all good experience and phenomenal resume there. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So your work history has led you to the peer counseling world, level two at Harlem Hospital, as you mentioned. If we can zoom out a bit, tell me a bit about your diagnosis and the effect that that diagnosis had on your life. The initial impact of symptoms and the diagnosis on your life and work, if you could.
Right. Okay. So I would say unpredictable mood swings, feelings of numbness started when I was young. I never went to a professional behavioral health clinician until I was 21 in 1991. And from there, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder,
Mm,
and I was hospitalized and put on medication, which takes a few weeks to establish baseline in one system. My then fiance wasn't aware of psychiatric challenges any more than I was, as it was new to both of us. We broke up shortly after my hospitalization. In 2004, when I started hearing voices and hallucinating, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia, in addition to having the bipolar disorder that I previously mentioned.
mhm.
I was later told that they try to consolidate multiple diagnoses and call it schizoaffective bipolar 2 type, which leans towards depression. I was on and off disability, SSDI, over the years. I also had some off and on substance use challenges as I used to self medicate when depression ended up in the driver's seat. I was on a particular medication that an antidepressant was supposed to be prescribed with, and it wasn't. So I self medicated in addition to taking my psych meds. Then one of the nurses spoke to me when I failed a urine test, and
Mm,
she told me that she had a premonition, if you will, that if I
sure.
didn't stop using, she saw my heart seizing and me dying prematurely. I quit cold turkey and will be clean for 14 years this August because that was all it took to get me to stop.
Wow. Wow. Maurice, congratulations, by the way, on your sobriety. And I know that that was not an easy road for you to navigate, so I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
What, when you got your diagnosis, you're navigating the symptoms and the best way to deal with all of this. What initial supports did you use, and did they help?
I have friends and family that were there for me and still are for me across the
Yeah,
board. There have been a few additions as well as a few deletions due to natural causes and decisions we made. A former therapist acknowledges my gifts, talents, and abilities as part of my coping mechanism system.
sure.
Artwork, photography, singing, dancing, journaling, writing poetry, working out, developing a personal yoga routine, going for walks as a means of support for me, helping me to maintain healthy work life and home life balance.
I know that staying active is such a huge part of everyone's life, right? Whether you're working towards recovery or just trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle, it's such an important part of what we do, and I appreciate you sharing that as well.
Thank you.
So now I want to move from your neighborhood to your education to your employment to what you used for supports. I want to talk about now some of the work incentives, the
Mhm.
SSA, Social Security Administration work incentives that really helped you move from, reliance on public benefits to where you are
Right.
today, which is an active member of society and working and earning money. Um, Tell me a little bit about that. What work incentives did you use and how did they help you?
Well, when I was on disability, I learned about the Ticket to Work program, and they're pretty much like
Right,
different like agencies or programs that you can place your ticket with.
right,
And in doing that, they can provide you with job resources. They help you look for work, and they can also like help you like with other things, like if you have like back rent due or different services in your neighborhood.
sure.
But the main goal was to like help me segue if I wanted to go back into the workforce.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that the Ticket to Work program is a great program for folks 18 to 64, I think it is, on SSI or SSDI, and has no effect on folks' benefits, right? It's a free
Right,
voluntary program, right?
right,
And it sounds like it helped you tremendously. So I appreciate you sharing that as well.
sure.
So, in addition to the Ticket to Work program, was there any other work incentive that you were able to capitalize on that helped you move again from public benefits back to working?
I think part of it was I felt like I was retiring at an early age, and that was incentive to like motivate me to want to go back and join the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
My psychiatric symptoms were pretty much at bay, so I could
Okay.
focus and take care of my day to day activities and also like meet my basic needs like bathing, cooking, doing my laundry, going shopping for myself.
Sure.
And I just got so tired with all the free time I had in my hands. I could do my artwork and stuff like that, but I
Hmm.
needed more money coming in.
Sure.
So I ended up like after I left the doorman position, that's when I decided to go to Peer Advocacy Academy, where I was
Yep.
still able to receive my disability benefits and be enrolled in like an all day classroom setting. And then after that was over, when there was graduation, I did an internship at Harlem Hospital before being
Yeah.
hired.
That's great. That's great. And when you say you were thinking of like took it on as retiring early, right?
Hmm.
I think what I'm hearing there, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you were on SSDI, right?
Yes,
That was your public benefit. So you were getting this money in and you were able to do your art, but it sounds like you needed more of a purpose in life, right?
yes.
Need, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I needed more of a purpose in life. And then since I've been working, I'm making about twice as much now as I was when I was on disability benefits.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's also an added incentive that keeps me
So you have
going.
more options day to day,
Yes,
more jingle in your pocket. I get that. I
right.
get that.
And I can still do my artwork in my free time.
So it's a win-win. You didn't have to give up your artwork to get the job, and now you have more money. You could still do your art. That's
Yes,
phenomenal.
yes. Thank you.
So I'm curious because there's a work incentive, the trial work period,
Right.
for folks on SSDI. Were you able to use that, and was that helpful at all in your road to where you are now?
Yes. For instance, like when I was a doorman, it started the trial work period is about 9 months, but
Yeah,
they don't have to be consecutive months. Whereas,
right,
see, like if I start working in March and then I stop working say like in like June or so. The amount
right,
of time that I started working to the time that I stopped working, that's when the trial work period stops. So it's not like they're going to continue to count the months after that. So if it's
right.
like 1 month or 2 months, when you stop working at the 2 month mark per se, then
Mm,
that's when the recording of your 9 month trial work period ends. And so it's like some people might, for instance, decide that working isn't for them if they try to go back. It could be too
mhm,
stressful for them. And then in that case, they'll still be able to keep all the money that they earned during the trial work period. And then they would just go back to being on their disability benefits.
yeah,
Whereas if a person sticks with the trial work period and their 9 month grace period comes and goes, they would slowly transition to just their source of income from their that they're earning, and the
right.
disability income would cease.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know the devil's in the details. Whenever anytime we talk about work incentives and Social Security, it gets very complicated. So if you permit me, I'm going to zoom out a bit. You tell me if
Sure.
I'm accurate here. So what I'm hearing is that the Ticket to Work program helped you a lot, right? Helped you find work, helped you connect to job openings, and really the trial work period is again, in your words, that 9 month non-consecutive period for folks on SSDI, where those individuals like yourself can work, make as much money as you want, right? Test your ability to work while still
Yes.
receiving a full SSDI check in the
Yes.
process, right? And you
Yes.
have 9 months to do that. Those 9 months don't have to be in a row because, as
Right.
we know, life is peaks and valleys, right? We may work in
Yes.
January, find that we don't love what we do, or we need to reevaluate where we're at. And maybe we work again, as you said, in June, right? So
Hmm.
maybe January is the first trial work period. June might be the second one, right? But all
Right.
the while, you don't have to sacrifice your SSDI. You're
Right.
receiving that safety net.
Right.
So I think that's really huge, and I thank you, Maurice, for bringing that up. Because for a lot of folks on SSDI and SSI really, but I know in your case SSDI, there's a lot of questions about, what's going to happen to my benefits when I go back to work. And this
Right.
9 month trial work period really lets folks know that, hey, you can work and make as much money as you want, test your ability to work, and still get your benefits, still get your SSDI check. You don't have to give that up. So sorry to interject. I just wanted to make sure that the folks out there heard us, and what you're saying is so important. I appreciate
And
it.
so that's fine. I'm grateful that you could clarify that.
Yeah, no, it's great. So as we move now from
Hmm.
ticket to work and trial work period, I know also for a lot of folks on public benefits, there's always a concern about healthcare.
Right.
What's going to happen to my healthcare if I go to work, you know?
Hmm.
Um, was that a concern for you, and how did you navigate that, and where are you now with your healthcare
Right.
coverage? Yeah,
Okay. Well, usually when a person is placed on SSDI, unless they have
yeah,
like some other insurance or something like that, they automatically put them on Medicare. And then it's
right,
kind of like choosing different like what do you call it, HMOs or whatever it is,
right, right,
that you
right.
choose from as your carrier, and then that
Okay,
will determine like your different visits to the doctor's office, what your copay is going to be, if any, that sort
sure,
of thing. But then during the transition, I found out that my job offers, like health coverage, insurance as well. So I was able
sure.
to segue from the Medicare to like regular benefits, at
So
a
your employer-sponsored health insurance kicked
yes,
in.
most definitely.
Yeah,
And so I didn't have to worry about like losing my Medicare because it was offered, uh, insurance was offered by my work, by my job.
yeah. That's
Hmm.
great. That's great. And it sounds like there was a bit of a bridge there too from,
Yes,
you were using your trial work period, but you also had some continuing Medicare coverage even after your trial work period ended, right? To where you
yes,
could evaluate what's better, my Medicare or my employer-sponsored insurance. And
right.
it's great that you had that option, and you capitalized on what was being offered. So,
Thank you.
so again, for folks listening, you've got many options, and we're talking just about a few here with Maurice, but Maurice is living example, obviously, of a success story of these work incentives in action. So I appreciate you sharing that. Those are the details, right? We want to get to. So I
Yes,
appreciate it.
yes.
So let me zoom out a bit, right? We
Hmm.
talked about where you grew up, and navigating symptoms and the world of SSA and work incentives. But let me zoom out and ask you, how did employment help you in your recovery?
Hmm.
Thinking about financial and social and mental health benefits.
Right. I would say financially, the employment helped and helps me in recovery as I feel I'm a working contributor to society again.
Mm,
I earn, like I said before, twice as much as I was getting when I was on SSDI.
mm,
And I also got a promotion last year after being with the hospital for just a year.
that's
When
awesome.
I've been, thank you. When I've been on SSDI, I saw it as early retirement, which I also mentioned before, which I
Mm,
just wasn't ready to retire. And then additionally, like socially, I'm pretty much a loner, having lost a close friend earlier this year to suicide.
mm,
And we used to socialize with each other, check in every few days with each other. Unfortunately, he had a plan as well as an intention. So now I use my free time to go to church, sometimes take myself to dinner, looking to make new friends, and I also visit my mother on some Sundays.
that's great. That's great.
And
So it sounds like employment has helped you not just to pay the bills, but really has given you a platform to kind of get reactivated towards the community of your choice.
right, and then
Yeah,
if I may also say, mentally,
sure.
I feel more stable as well as focused with a healthy collaborative relationship with my psychiatrist as well as with my therapist. I feel valued as a peer counselor and recommend Peer Advocacy Academy to anyone who would like to advocate for others as well as for themselves. And another reason for that's another reason for home life and work life balance.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. It's balancing what we need to do and what we want to do.
Yes.
Um, so, Maurice, thank you so much. You're articulating things in such a great way, because we do these trainings. My office, the New York Employment Service System, does a benefits 101, and we talk about, well, employment is good for socialization and building a social network and your
Right.
mental health, which is obviously important. But your story just resonates so much deeper, hearing it from the first person point of view. So, again, I appreciate you sharing this.
Thank you.
So as we come to the end of our session here,
Hmm.
couple more questions for you. So the first, what have you learned along the way? You've been through the peaks and valleys of life. Um, how have you become so resilient to continue moving forward? What tips and motivation do you have for others?
I would say I've learned the importance of believing in oneself and having enough confidence without being overconfident. Um, Although it's not my favorite word, patience is very important. And I became resilient because of a deep knowing that I have a purpose and want to help others to the best of my ability. Some tips and motivation
Great.
I have for others is if you have a mental illness, psychiatric challenges, or even a physical disability, don't let them define you, whatever the name
Mm,
of it may be. You
mm.
still have a purpose. There may be something that only you can do based on your life experience.
That's so huge. That's so huge. We all have a purpose. We all have value, and we're the experts of ourselves and we know what we're good at. And yeah, that's so huge is don't let a diagnosis define who you are, right?
Right,
You are not your diagnosis. You are Maurice, right?
right.
That's so huge. So one last question
Hmm.
as we look to the crystal ball of life here, the future. What's next for you? What does the future hold?
I would say as a professional artist, I'd like to have my works in art shows and to get my work online, as well as, like I said, online and to have a website of my own. As far as my position here at the hospital goes, I'd like to see this career through and eventually retire from it. I'm a valued member of the mobile crisis team here at Harlem Hospital. And although I have my team leader's blessing to find work elsewhere if I choose to, I think I'm going to stick it out here with the MCT, Mobile Crisis Team. And then, unless I go on an audition and get the golden buzzer, I'm
Ah,
pretty much going to stay here.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna look for that audition, and
Okay.
when you receive the golden buzzer, I'm like, I know that guy. I know Maurice. I talked to him. Listen, Maurice, thank you so much for sharing. This is not easy, and I know that it's been a road for you, but just know that this your story and this opportunity to share will motivate not only me, but everybody listening. So, thank you, sir. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for listening today. We will talk to you soon and wish you all the best of luck. Take care.